Hey guys, there go a Tesla. I think I was telling you yesterday that basically Elon Musk basically is taking over China. Now, I don't know if I told you that. It probably messed up, but you can see this is Shanghai. You can see the cars that they drive. Like, welcome anyway to the Kishu Inu Army channel, and I thought that I'd actually go out and try to teach you dudes a lesson in basically economics and the greatest transfer of wealth in history, and how you are most likely part of that. This is Randy Flagg, and I'm your host. Please like and subscribe to my channel. So we are now in Shanghai, and this is basically the district of Pudong. Pudong comprises more than 50% of Shanghai. Pudong is 50% basically of Shanghai. — 20 years ago, Pudong was a swamp. This whole place was a swamp. You could feel it in the air when you breathe it. You could feel the swampy weather, the muggy, super humid, swampy weather. Because at one point, this place used to be a swamp. Okay? I've been here around 15 years, and I basically got married here, started a life, have children. When me and my wife first started out, we started out in this apartment complex that was basically way off in the boondocks. It was way off in the boondocks. And we was paying like $300 to this guy, right? And, you know, my wife would begin to talking to him in Chinese and all this other kind of stuff. You know, he's a Chinese cat, of course. And he was like, yeah, I got like 10 houses. And I was like, well, how do these good people get all of these houses? And what happened was, like, during the early 2000s, late 1990s, this reform, which was basically started by Deng Xiaoping. This reform started late 90s. You could say like 1996, 97, when China started ramping up their development. Okay, and what happened was that you had a lot of these farmers over here in Pudong. Okay, so you see these houses over here? If you look up there were no houses. This is all farmland. These houses here, all farmland. Those houses up there, which I'm about to show you, hopefully, all farmland, okay? And you had people who owned the land. And where did those people came from? You remember Mao Zedong snatched it from the intellectuals, gave it to basically the people. Stole it from intellectuals, gave it to the people, however you want to put it. Here's a company over here across the street. Tall buildings. And so you had all these people, and they built houses on these farms, and the farmers have family members, and they built houses, and then it gradually grew into generations of people. And then what happened was the reform. And so you had all this construction going on and infrastructure building. And what happened with the infrastructure building is the farmers didn't want to move off the property. They was like, this is my property. This is my farm. I tilled this farm. right? Hold on. Yeah, so they was like, I tilled this farm, you know, I did all of this. See, you see in the background, look over there. Let me see if I could try to do that. Can it? Okay, wait. Let me see. All the way over there, you see construction going on? In Shanghai, there's always infrastructure basically being built, okay? Anyway, so what the government says is like, okay, you don't want to get off your land, because if the government wanted to expand, you can't just snatch people off their land and then don't give them nothing. Okay, then you're gonna have a revolution, right? And so basically, the government said, listen, what is it gonna take to get your family off this land? We need to build a mall here. We need to build a highway. So what happened was, if a family had like 10 members, if they had like 5 members in their household, the government said, we're gonna build a housing structure here, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you the houses that we build on here. Okay, we wanna modernize. We're not trying to steal from you. We wanna modernize this area, okay? And then you rent out those apartments, or you sell those and do those apartments as you see fit. So if you have 10 people on that farming land, the government gonna give you 10 houses. You understand? And so this is how Shanghai was built. This is how, you see these apartments? These apartments cost 40 million RMB, which is like at least 40 million. Some of them are like 100 million. You see that? And why are they 100 million? Because Shanghai's been in a perpetual bubble where you have these houses. 100 million in Shanghai, because it's 6 RMB to the dollar, about 7 RMB to the dollar. These houses, they're like 20 million bucks, man. $15 million, and they're not even houses, they're apartments. Because housing is too dense in Shanghai. You got about 40 million people that live in Shanghai. And so these people, these farmers, they got like 10 houses. When they built up the housing complex, they got 10 houses for 10 people. Because there's 10 people in the family, including a kid. If the family had like five kids and they were all young, they were all like 7, 10, 12, 9, 4. They all got apartments. And so basically, it wasn't really adults controlling the assets. I mean, it wasn't, it was only basically 2 or 3 adults controlling 10 assets. And so when these apartment structures got built, what happened was, then you started renting them out. Because companies started coming and things started being built here, and then people from the countryside, from other provinces, started coming to Shanghai. There's a brain drain, and like you got a place up there, another province that's above Shanghai. I think it's above Shanghai. It's called Anhui Province. That province is pretty much empty of young talent. It's filled with old people because all the young people moved to Shanghai. Okay, and they all work, and all of those young people need places to stay. Okay, and what happened is you had these people the farmers, they had 10 houses, and then they charged like 2,000 for each house for rent. And then they become basically slowly millionaires. They accumulate more money, right? from those 10 houses, and then from that they buy the bigger house and bigger villa, and on and on and on. And then this is how you have Shanghai. And pretty much the only thing to invest in is, well, right now it's housing. But at that time, when those people have all the houses, right? They got the 10 houses and stuff like that. Then you entered into the stock market. So they would take all that money from the government subsidies and put it in the stock market, and then bam, because everybody was going into the stock market because of the housing market. I mean, because of what happened with real estate in the housing market. And so they got even more rich. And that's why you have these like super, basically millionaires in Shanghai. It wasn't particularly working hard. You know, so many people think, oh, the Chinese work so hard. You know, they're so hard workers. Yes, some of them are hard workers. But for the most part, how they got their wealth is because of the government. The government just gave them houses. And then what they did was they capitalized off of the stuff that the government gave them. Most people that are rich here, they got rich off of houses. You could say like 80% that got rich off of houses. Now other people are getting rich because now they're the CEO of big companies and all that other stuff. But if they came from Shanghai, if they're Shanghainese, their parents got rich off the housing market and the stock market. It was easy because all stocks was going up at the time. All you had to do, you know, the residual from your money, you put it in the stock market went up and shot up. And it was just easy money. You just got it. You know, all my wife's friends are like that. Now, if you didn't come from Shanghai, then that's not going to happen to you. The rest of China is pretty much kind of poorish. Okay, but this happened in Beijing. It happened in Shenzhen, Guangdong province, like Shenzhen. And it especially happened in Shanghai, where everyone's rich from housing. And this is why you have a place like this that is basically almost empty, because the people are just holding on to the real estate. They got all this money, they don't got nowhere to put it. And so what they do is they buy these big gigantic houses, and then they try to rent them out, but the prices are too high. And you have a lot of empty structures here. You should have like tons of people walking around, but you don't. Okay? You don't have a lot of people walking around. You got a movie theater downstairs where every time I go to the movies there, I'm the only one in the movie theater. But it's never going to close because the people are filthy rich here. And they're calling it a bubble. This is where you find the ghost cities and all this other stuff. They call it a bubble, but the bubble is most likely never really gonna pop because of the material of these buildings. You hear that? Look at that. This is supposed to be what? Concrete, but you hear this? That's not concrete, that's fake, right? So because of the material of these houses, it's always going to need repair. It's always going to be in disrepair. You're always going to need people there's always going to be jobs available for people here. Okay, these things don't last long. You know, like 20 years down the line, this place is going to be changed into something else, right? And the people that bought into it, they probably got their rent or they sold it to the construction company, and then the construction company builds something else again. All right? And why am I telling you this story? The reason why I'm telling you this story is because in America, it's happening. The same thing is pretty much happening. Okay, some of us got lucky because of the COVID thing, the bug, or whatever you want to call it. The government has decided to give you oodles and sums of money. Okay, I think the average family right now is getting like $20,000 or something like this, like from $15,000 to $20,000. If you got kids, you're getting 15 to 20K. Since the beginning of last year, you're getting 15 and 20K. Some say, oh yeah, it's to pay rent. Not that $3,000 that's coming for your children. And if you got 3 children, you're getting more than that, right? You're getting $3,000 per kid. You're getting the $1,400 stimulus. The economy is fine. People are at work. But Joe Biden is just giving you oodles and oodles of money, pretending like the economy wasn't all right. Okay? Because he want to pass other things. Now, that's something for another video we could talk about. Sorry, it's like, it's always on the floor. My hand gets tired. But you are in the midst of a transfer of wealth, okay? And the transfer of wealth is the government giving you money. And depending on what you do with the money is dependent on how successful you're going to be. But it's basically parroting what the Chinese did. Because the Chinese government was giving people houses for free, basically. Just giving houses, that's it. Just giving houses away. Biden is basically giving money. And if you get 20K, of course it's to a lesser extent, okay? But you're still getting something. And depending on what you do with it, will depend on if you are involved in this wealth transfer. Because that's what's happening, is a wealth transfer. This bull market in the cryptocurrency is going to create lots of millionaires. And depending on what you do with that, will depend on your fate and the fate of your family, because he's basically giving Social Security, your kids' Social Security up. China got the same problem. They got the age problem, which you have. They didn't give everything away. The pension is not enough to pay for the people because there are too many old people in this country. All right, it's not enough young people. And that's because they were forcing people to have one-child policy. Right? That's a library over there. One day I'm going to show you that. But they built these like infrastructures up. These beautiful infrastructure based on that one idea. And this is basically what Biden is doing. And Kishu Inu, I think, is an entry point into the beginning of the transfer of your wealth. And if you play the game properly, you're going to be like one of these Chinese people here, buying up stuff like this. Now, Kishu Inu is not going to be the only catalyst. Don't think that, oh, it's Kishu Inu is going to give me all this money and then I'm going to be able to buy this house. No, you're going to have to transfer that to something else in crypto, to something else in crypto. This thing is going to take a couple of years for you to get to the rich part of where you need to get. It's going to take you a while. That's a realistic approach. It will take you a while to get where you want to get to. You should have a plan, like 3-year plan, like 4-year plan, or whatever. But Kishu Inu is the entry point of your wealth. If it 20, 30 X's and you put $1,000 into it, you good, right? Like if, oh, this thing is getting ready to go out. So anyway, you understand what I'm talking about. This is Flag. Please like and subscribe. The battery power is out. And Peace. I hope you learned something. Kishu Inu, Army, Gang, peace.